I'm excited you're saying this, but again, it will also look like just a mere register. You call your service provider and you try to identify yourself. They don't even have the faintest idea of what your name is. I mean, when you travel out and you have a SIM that is duly registered, by the time you're asked one or two questions, every other details is, is known by the officer who is going to attend to you. Now, look at so many messages we have received over 24 hours now, and the complaint is that NCC has not done the customers, well in this regard. And their complaints are that ranging from that they have duly registered, they still have been disconnected, and some are saying that they never got the message. So are we trying to help the customers here, or are we protecting the operators? For those who are complaining now, how does the NCC come in to ascertain the veracity of their claims and see that they are duly compensated?
Well, Sulaiman, I think that we need to understand that before now, we don't have, for instance, a critical database capturing information about all Nigerians. The country, for instance, you're referring to, I'm sure, probably they have social security numbers. I mean, everyone there has information in the database. All they need to do is to put your social security number.
No, sorry, let me chip this in.
Comes out there. So what I'm trying to say, in other words, is that we don't have a critical database that existed before the SIM registration that we could draw from. So the SIM registration exercise, as it were, was like the foundation that we are laying in terms of being able to capture, huge numbers of Nigerians in terms of biometrics and information that is required even for future use by government. So that was the first time. So the kind of challenges we're having are challenges that has to do with not having done this before. So this is the first time it's being done. And we have to get it right in the sense that if we have a critical mass of data that has been cleaned and scrubbed, and of course that the information is correct, then of course in the future we can build upon that. And so we didn't have that. Of course, you also are aware that you have NCC, the Nigerian Identity Management Commission, that is actually registering all Nigerians. But the point is that the amount of people that have so far been registered is a far cry from the entire population of this country today. So the SIM registration actually has given us a mass of data in millions, which we didn't have before. So if we are able to get it right now, then for future, it is going to help this country really. So
I quite understand your point.
That might go now because of it's going on. But when we get it right, of course, it is going to be something that can be used in the future. However,
Mr. Ojobo, allow me put this in. I quite understand your point. It's critically important that we get it right. But if you look at it over the years, it will seem as if, this whole process has been jeopardized. Don't forget that we have a couple of kidnappings here and there with phone calls being made for ransom. And some have argued that some of these lines that were, supposed to have been duly registered have been used to make calls to the extent that the security agencies have had a hard time trying to trace such numbers. So that's why we're saying, do you think that this process was duly followed and not just a mere register for some?
I think, Sly, you and I were on the same page here. That's the reason why this is going on. The reason why this exercise is going on is just because of what you said right now. That we have discovered at the office, at the NCC, at our back-end office, that the data captured by a number of operators were not properly done. And we have been on this with them, requesting that this data be properly captured, the data of the subscribers. What you have just said is the reason why that meeting of August 4th was held at the NCC between the Office of the National Security Advisor, the NCC, and the operators, highlighting the security situation in the country and that there was need for us to know who actually is using what number. And that is the reason for this exercise. We know it might be inconveniencing, but you see, even the subscribers that are affected will also be saved in the future if we get this right from now.
Yeah, so, but Mr. Ojobo, pardon me to jump in. I mean, yes, the reasons, nobody questions that. I mean, everybody likes security, things to be done properly. But you've talked about the penalty for the telecom companies who refuse or do not disconnect lines that have not been properly or that have not been registered. But you haven't talked about those who have gone there and they say, look, we have registered well over 3 times and we still have our numbers barred. So they're paying for the telecom service providers not taking you, the NCC, seriously. What happens to them?
Well, the issue of not taking us seriously, I wouldn't say that it's not because they're not taking NCC seriously. But I think also, it's maybe some laxity on part of the operators, in the sense that there's a contractual relationship between a service provider and an operator. And the subscriber has a right to be informed. He has a right to be educated. He has a right to be attended to. And we recognize this right. And of course, some of these issues are going to be taken up maybe on individual basis. I mean, individuals that have issues with their service providers could escalate to the commission, and it should be addressed.
What kind of measures are available to correct this kind of scenario?
Well, it's one of the platforms that the commission has provided for a subscriber to take a decision that could actually help the operator, is that a subscriber actually can decide after this exercise to port out of the services of that particular operator to another operator. Because really you have a right to fire your service provider by porting out with your number to some other person that's providing you service without, if you look at the numbers, you can see even in terms of compliance, a number of operators have complied more than the others. And so that is in itself because they want to, as much as possible, ensure that their customers are not put at a disadvantage or inconvenience. So they have taken their time to reach out to their subscribers and have also taken their time to ensure that as much as possible, there's a minimal disruption of service. And, there's response. There have been response, even operator to operator have had varied responses from their subscribers.
Let me bring in this other perspective. Because, I mean, the last time we spoke about the quality of infrastructure and equipment that the telecom providers are deploying for certain services. But there are many who will also say, look, this particular case, again, to some extent, speaks to that matter, wherein did the commission go ahead to check the kinds of equipment that is there? Because how could someone go to register several times and then their data, their biometrics are poorly captured and then they keep sending you messages? Could you come back and register? You do all of that and then you're still barred.
There are a few things that happened, Chamberlain, during the exercise, registration exercise. Some also had to do with the individuals, the subscribers, in terms of literacy level of subscribers. And also some had to do with the individuals themselves that were actually registering subscribers. Because of the huge numbers, the networks had to hire people in various locations who were registering subscribers as they come. And so, a good number of them had to go through certain kinds of training, but because of the urgency of the time, and of course because maybe some of them probably were not really very good in terms of usage of computers and all of that, there were a lot of errors discovered initially, when the exercise started. And of course, the service providers were required to ensure that their people were properly trained and that the equipment was also properly, was the right kind of equipment in terms of being able to capture pictures, capture biometrics and all of that. And all of that was done. So, we believe that it was like a situation where too many people were involved in this exercise and maybe not too many of them actually were well trained to be able to do that. So I believe that that's what we are seeing. The consequence of the kind of people that were employed to do the registration probably led to the huge numbers of improperly registered subscribers. And of course, the networks acknowledge that. And what they have told us that right now, that they have the equipment that is being used is much better than what was used at the time that the exercise started about 3 years ago. Right now, there are newer equipment that are coming with better configurations, so that when people register now, they wouldn't have to come back. So these are some of the challenges that we had identified. And of course, those things are being addressed as we speak.
All right, we'll be in touch with you to get further messages to the viewers, but that's how far we can go today. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.